Hey peoples, this is another movie review of Six Underground, which was supposed to come out a couple days ago, but I had so many notes that I was trying to figure out how not to make this review 30 minutes long. But anyway, thank you for listening, it really means a lot to me, and on to the review. So according to Netflix, the plot of this movie is after faking his death, a tech billionaire recruits a team of international operatives for a bold and bloody mission to take down a brutal dictator. And I guess that's pretty much the movie. So overall, my initial thoughts were that this movie was stupid and nonsensical because you have stuff like our good guys on a skateboard and then ollieing up to a rail and then popping off the rail, landing on a ledge, and then shooting a grenade into someone's car. So that over-the-top silliness, I just assume maybe this is just a fun, nonsensical movie that's trying to be a guilty pleasure just right off the bat. It knows what it is and it's going for it. The problem is that you can make a guilty pleasure nonsensical movie, but the construction, the presentation, the story, the action, all of it doesn't have to be this bad. Oh my goodness, this movie is bad. And it feels like it was made with a dose of incompetence because I don't understand certain decisions in this movie. Let's just start with the inconsistencies that happen throughout the movie. It's just small things that build up where you're like, was this no one's job to make sure that these things add up from scene to scene? Or were they just like, who cares, no one's gonna pay attention, it's whatever. And a lot of these are continuity based. For those who don't know, there is someone on a set whose job is to check the continuity. Like, make sure that if this person is wearing this sweater in this scene, that when we cut and take a break and come back to that same scene, they're wearing the same sweater. That's someone's job. I assume they didn't hire that person for this movie because there's too many inconsistencies throughout this movie. And I'm gonna touch on a few. First off, the opening action scene, which lasts way too long. An action scene should not be this long in the same general location. It just makes stuff boring, and after a while you become numb to what you're watching. But anyway, we have mostly our main group of people who will be our quote-unquote heroes of the film, and they're in a chase scene for this opening. One annoying thing that keeps happening is that our driver either has a hat on or he doesn't have a hat on, and it continually pops on and off throughout this scene. No, he's not grabbing it and taking it off, it just disappears. No more hat. Oh look, there's the hat. But I'm like, you know what, maybe this is just a small detail that they missed at the beginning of the movie. But nope, it's just a hint at what else you'll get throughout the movie. There are multiple scenes in this movie where a giant action set piece or a giant scene will start off, and it's about midday to early afternoon, okay? Then all of a sudden it's nighttime. Then all of a sudden it's early in the morning. Then all of a sudden it's back to midday. Time is irrelevant. It's just whenever. I didn't understand that. But there are constant things like this throughout the movie. There are some times where characters are driving in a city and the camera will take another angle where it's looking at the passenger in the car, and out of their window you'll see green as if they're driving next to a field. But they were definitely in a city. Why do I see that in the background? Also small stuff like blood splatters. Someone will get blood completely squirted on their faces, then another angle will happen and they'll only have it like on a little spot. It's weird little things throughout the movie where it's just inconsistencies, which I don't understand. I don't get it. How can you miss these? At least get those small things right. But you know what? Those are small things. Maybe this movie will be saved by the action. There is a lot of action in this movie. Here's the problem. There are way too many cuts. When I say too many cuts, I mean everything has too many cuts. Let me try to give you an example. Imagine we have our good guys in one car and we have bad guys in another car. And let's say they're driving towards each other and they both complete a hard turn to basically spin around to face each other. To perform that scene maybe lasts less than 2 minutes. It shouldn't take, by my count, 12 cuts to show us that they turned around. Every single action scene is like this. There are cuts during fight scenes where you can't see what's going on. You don't know who hit who. You see people flying around. There's no long shots that are panned back to show you the actual action. They're just up close and there's explosions happening all over the place. Which leads me to my next problem, which is the pointless action. Which is why this made me think it was a guilty pleasure for the most part, because the action doesn't even make sense. Cars will flip and explode for no apparent reason whatsoever. Do cars actually blow up when they flip over? No, but if you watch this movie, you'd think they do. Honestly, I thought every single bad guy that was driving a car had to be blind. It's the only way things make sense. Let's say we're in a scene where there's two levels. There's a bottom street level and an upper deck level. The bad guys will drive off of the upper deck level towards the good guys for some apparent reason, I guess to go after them, not thinking, oh, if we drive off this ledge, we'll just fall down and crash the car, which is exactly what happens. So I don't understand that. They will drive into oncoming traffic, they will slide their cars into other cars for no apparent reason. They just must be blind. It's the only thing that makes sense. Otherwise, they're just horrible drivers and they're idiots. And I understand this is all an aesthetic by Michael Bay because he directed this movie and he likes giant explosions and random things blowing up. But it makes no sense. It really makes no sense. And also, speaking about Michael Bay, what's up with his thing with shooting women from down below as they're walking? There are at least 2 to 3 scenes in this movie where a woman is walking with, usually either she has on a bathing suit or she has on a tight dress, something of that nature, and it's a low shot of her walking past the camera. Is that just a signature shot of his? It just seems very weird to do that. Why would you film a woman from down below? I guess for a good leg and butt shot? It just seems very amateurish. But let me move on to the dialogue in this movie. Not much to say here. Everything's pretty much corny or bland and boring. You don't care about it. Even the jokes. The jokes in this movie are so bad. I only chuckled one time in this movie, and it's within the first 15 minutes during the first car chase scene. Other than that, nothing else made me laugh. Also, the script made me wonder when was it written because it has a Britney Spears joke and it has a 8 Mile joke, which are super outdated. Also, there's a whole scene about movie references that isn't funny. There are a couple penis jokes that isn't funny. A bird poops on a window and we're supposed to take that as comedy. Nothing in this movie is funny. It's just bland and it feels like jokes that would have came out when slapstick was big. It's not good. And I really felt bad for the actors for having to deal with this. I'm sure they probably had fun on set. I'm sure it was a great time, all the actions and exploding and hanging out and the laughs. I'm sure it was great. But they gave them nothing to do. They gave them bad dialogue and horrible setups. You don't care about any of the characters in this movie. We really only get a character and a half's backstory. So you have Ryan Reynolds and we get a bulk of his backstory. And then you have another character who's a soldier and you get, I guess, half or a quarter of his backstory. Other than that, you really don't know anything about any of these other characters. And one thing in this movie is that the characters don't know about each other. They try to keep an arm's length, but in doing that, they do the same thing to the audience. We don't know anything about these people except a couple of things they tell us, which you don't really connect with or care about. And because of that, you don't care about any of the characters. I would say the acting is bad, but it's not like they had a lot of material to work with. Ryan Reynolds doesn't even act like his character throughout the movie. Sometimes he is a cold-hearted billionaire who only wants to get the bad guy, and that's the way they paint him, okay? He will leave any of his people behind in order to focus on the mission. That's half of him. The other half is just General Ryan Reynolds, okay? Ryan Reynolds making jokes. Why wasn't he consistent throughout the movie? It's like they gave him a script and then they let him inject his own character into the script, and it didn't work. If Ryan Reynolds was his typical self from beginning to end, that would be fine, but he's not that. He's half a certain type of character for the movie and half another type of character for the movie. Why? But anyway, enough about them. Let's get into the main problem with the movie, and that's the story. The plot of the movie is pretty simple. You get people together with different backgrounds and they're trying to get a bad guy. It's not complicated. The movie makes it complicated because it presents it in the messiest way possible. It jumps around with time way too much. You don't really get to see the characters really bond and connect with one another, so you don't care about them. There are random makeout scenes that seem to contrast the previous scene right before them. Their plan to get their bad guy doesn't even make any sense. And the movie does this weird thing where they present it like they are structured and they have a plan, but then when the plan's going on, things go awry and it seems like they didn't have a plan at all, like they were just winging it. The movie feels like it actually takes forever to start because it seems like they don't have enough material. And when they start, they're talking about all of these people being a ghost because all of these people fake their death, and they do that so they don't have any attachments so they can go do criminal activities like apprehending bad people. The problem is they spend so much time talking about being a ghost and how you live your life now and how you have no attachments and how you're not connected with people and all of this stuff over and over and over. We get an hour into the movie and they're still explaining it. It seems like the script was 10 pages of material and they just kept repeating those same pages over and over and over again. Or they had some action scenes in their head and they're like, oh, we can just piece a somewhat story around this so we can make some stuff explode. And one last random thing, the music. The music in this movie is so random. We will be in the middle of an action scene and then music with lyrics will start playing. Then it'll die out and then it'll randomly pop back up later on in the same action scene. It happens multiple times throughout this movie. It makes no coherent sense. Why was it this way? They just picked the most random placement to start playing music. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you just like to watch action scenes and you want to see some explosions, then I think you will fully enjoy this movie. If you want to watch a movie that's coherent, that makes sense, that actually tries, has good characters, has a good story, if you're looking for any of that, then you're not going to like this movie, because this movie isn't good. It's just a bunch of nonsense. So no, I don't suggest watching this movie. Do not waste your time. But that's all, peoples. Thank you as always for listening. Thank you for the likes, the subscribing, the thumbs up, the comments. Please comment below if you've seen this movie. Let me know how much you loved it, if you actually loved it, or if you're just confused like me at its existence. And I thank you for joining in the conversation. Please continue to have a great day. God bless. I'll talk to you later.